Okay, it's Toby from Heavyweight MMA today with the Duke of Canberra, Duke Didier. How are you, bro?
Good, thank you, man. How you doing?
Good, good. As I was just saying, you got a beautiful looking gym behind you, bro. How long has this one been open?
We've been open for 12 months. Sort of like the combination of years and years of training in different facilities. And I always think, if I had a gym, I'd do this. If I had a gym, I'd do that. Sort of made a mental note, put my own little flair on it. I had a little bit of a nightclub feel, and Bob's your uncle. We've got a good, nice little fight gym, and we got 280 members in a year, so it's obviously working.
Jesus, that's awesome, man. I heard you say you're here to make Canberra great again, or here to make Canberra MMA great again. Is that's the goal?
I think that's going to be a new catchphrase. I think, that's the goal. Not just within the facility and the quality of fighters that we're going to produce. I want to help Canberra MMA as a whole. It's a big part of why I got to where I am. So I feel like I have a bit of a duty to make sure that the next generation get the same opportunities that I got and get to the same level, if not further than me. So if that means wearing a few different hats within the MMA community, I will. If I've got to ruffle a few feathers, I'm happy to do that.
Nice, man. Hey, when I think about combat sports in Canberra, there's been a few bits and pieces through the years, but one of the things that springs to mind was Ben Edwards, man. What's your relationship like with him?
So Ben and I are good mates. When I fully committed to MMA after my judo career, and Ben fully committed to MMA post-boxing career, we linked up for a little while there, a couple of fight camps. So I helped him with his grappling. He helped me with my striking. And Ben's also part of the community here, so he trains here. He coaches when he can as well. We're lucky to have a guy like Ben. I always looked at Ben as sort of the pinnacle of what you want to be. So I met him in the cab rank when I was just a kid. He was always a good bloke then. So he's the sort of guy I want around here. I have a sort of thing where MMA is not as good as other sports at making sure they've got leaders around the facility. Like a rugby team, you'll make sure that there's leaders still around the club that can sort of pass on their knowledge. Fight teams sort of just have their coach, and then once they're done, the fighters sort of fade off. And I don't think that's wise. So I made it pretty clear with Benny that I'd love to have him around in any capacity, just so that he can pass on his years of world-class knowledge, because there's not that many guys that have international experience in Canberra. So if we all stick together, it's going to make forward the next generation to be as strong as possible.
That's true, man. I remember Ben, when he first kicked off, I was competing in kickboxing when he started. And I remember watching him in one of his first fights in Bankstown, I think it was, and watching him just going, this guy looks special. He just had just a real strong base, something about the base and the power he threw from his base. I said to someone I was with, fuck, this guy looks good, man. He was only one or two fights in, I think. But yeah, look at what he's done. Great stuff.
Yeah, man. Yeah, man. Awesome athlete, phenomenal, and to be able to do it across multiple disciplines is the most impressive thing: kickboxing, boxing, and mixed martial arts. And that's sort of what I try and replicate with the grappling side of things. So from the judo, jiu-jitsu into the mixed martial arts as well. There's no stopping. Just keep readjusting your goals and make the adjustments required per sport.
And on that, man, obviously judo and BJJ black belt, expert in grappling, man. You've won multiple Australian titles or national titles in both, in other sports, across combat sports as well, bro. Tell us a little bit about your background. I know you've extensively done judo in your youth and moved on towards MMA, obviously, but give us a little bit of history.
Yeah, so I came through the judo system and within the junior national teams and the Australian Institute of Sport. I did that from a very young age. From about 9 years old, I started judo. That was initially to sort of help my rugby from a young kid, but I sort of got bit with the bug. I sort of liked the solo competitor aspect of it, I guess. From that sort of led me into a more combat sports. A few of the judo guys before me were doing a bit of mixed martial arts, so it definitely flagged my interest. And when I got the opportunity, I got to fight on a brace promotion here in Canberra. I got a couple of quick wins in my pro debut and fights after that. So then I sort of realized that could be a viable option for me if it was all coming out pretty easily. With that led my jiu-jitsu as well, because I feel like the no-gi grappling's got a much better sort of carryover. There's more ability to cross-train for mixed martial arts with the jiu-jitsu. Judo, you've got to make a lot of adjustments. Great base, but due to the gi and the stance and obviously you get mainly not having the gi as well. So I made the adjustments by going into Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu, immersing myself in that. And that's what's pretty much led to me where I am now. So I feel like I'm a very complete grappler because I've got great takedowns, great groundwork, and I've also been able to fill in the gaps with my striking as well.
Bro, you mentioned in one of your interviews that judo is a super tough sport. Everyone knows it, it's a tough sport. Why is that? Why is it such a tough sport? What about it makes it tough?
I think the depth of talent overseas is the first and foremost reason. It's the national sport for a lot of countries overseas. I think I used to joke that the more war torn the country, the better their judo team usually is. And you go through those Eastern European bloc, the Asian, African, and the Americas. They've all got quite strong judo teams. So when you go and compete overseas, usually we're down at the lower end. And it's we've always got it up against us being so far away in Australia. Then the next side of things is because it's so much repetition involved. It's not as glamorous a sport. You just focus on the same things over and over and over, and that same thing is getting thrown and repeatedly get back up. So when you're getting thrown so often, that's very, very hard on the body. The grips and everything is so specialized that it really takes a wear and tear on your body. I know for a fact now that if I go put a judo gi back on, all the old injuries that I thought had gone away immediately come back. So I'm glad I did what I did with judo, but you wouldn't catch me getting back into the competitive scene. It just takes too much sacrifice, and in my opinion, probably not as much reward really. Compared to professional fighting, there's a lot more opportunity, both financially and also like exposure-wise. So I just think this is the right option for me.
Yeah, man. And on that, bro, on judo, like you're saying, all these other countries, did you get a chance to do much training? Obviously, you competed internationally. Did you also train internationally?
Yeah, I trained internationally for the good part of over a decade. I got to train in Korea, France, Japan. I've been to Japan 20 times. I did training camps like through Europe, all over the place. In England, I trained over there in England and Scotland, and so I got to do a lot of international travel. I got to do a lot of international training, and I got to do a lot of international competitions, and that all is invaluable for me now moving forward into my next career.
Yeah, bro. And then going from that strict sort of grappling background, bro, how do you address that striking element? You know, like they say it takes 5 years or so to kind of master something, you know, if you work as hard as you can at it. Do you feel like you've gotten to that mastery of striking yet, having moved over to MMA?
Yeah, it's took me longer than 5 years, eh? So it's like, it's just, they're not similar at all, striking and grappling. And I'm not a natural athlete that picks things up. The reason I've been so successful is because I'm pretty stubborn and I stick with it and I find what works. And through years and years of perseverance, I now feel like I'm pretty confident on my feet as well. And that's taken a lot of patience and a lot of grey hairs and stress from a lot of striking coaches. But I feel like now that I've got my feet underneath me on the feet, and that's a really, really valuable tool to have. And it takes away that sort of one-dimensional aspect of you being a fighter. I want to be able to mix it up more and more as per the name of the sport.
Yeah, man, there's been a few judo players that have gone to be successful on MMA, bro. Is there anyone that kind of sticks out for me? I look at Hector Lombard as an example of someone who's come from a judo background that's now kind of like moved into the striking room more than the judo. Are there any key guys that you've kind of watched come up that are judo players?
Oh, I think the obvious one for me would be my old coach, Daniel Kelly. So he was, I was actually grew up sort of, he was my coach as a junior and in the junior national team. And then near the end of my Olympic qualifications, I sort of linked up with him and his guys in Melbourne in a judo aspect. So I was traveling with him. And then Daniel had made the transition over into MMA, into the UFC, more so than anyone I knew or had access to. So I sort of hitched my trailer to his truck and tried to replicate what he does. And the systems I've learned through, because I then moved down to Melbourne to train under him at Resilience Training Centre. And the systems I learned there are stuff that I carry over here to my own facility in Canberra. So it's really good to be able to make the adjustments, because the base is there, but if you don't make the adjustments, you've got all these great tools, but no way to utilise them. So I feel like now I've sort of got those tools in my pockets. Now I'm ready to sort of utilise them as much as possible on the big scene.
Yeah, man. So big fight coming up, April the 5th, fighting Ben Tynan on One Fight Night 21 over in Thailand, Lumpinee Boxing Stadium. It's pretty exciting, right?
Yeah. Always been a dream of mine to compete at Lumpinee. No, not really. not really. I think it's cool. Look, man, I'm just glad to be fighting. I don't care where it is. So I know there's a lot of history there. It's probably a bit ignorant of me, but I didn't grow up watching Muay Thai. So I only heard about it when one said they had to deal with it. I sort of did some research into it and found out it's pretty prestigious. So I'm sure there's a lot of kickboxers going, oh, how could you? But look, man, it's cool to be able to compete in these big events in big places. I know it's going to be streamed all over the world. I think it's on Channel 7 here in Australia. So look, the more exposure I can get and hopefully put on a good showing, the better for me.
Yeah, bro. So it's kind of like the Madison Square Garden of Thailand, Thai boxing, right? Like Lumpinee's always been famous. I went to the old stadium, the original, and then recently I got a chance to watch a Friday fight night over there in Thailand as well. And man, the stand-up fights on Friday, you might know more than me, they must pay massive bonuses just for knockout, because everyone was just trying to fucking kill each other. It was just very different from normal Thai boxing. Like, I think they must pay him massive bonuses on the stand-up fights there, bro.
Yeah, your guess is as good as mine, man, so we'll see. But I know one are big on that exciting sort of go-forward style. So hopefully I can add my first knockout to the repertoire. Wouldn't that be great? Yeah, anyway.
That's it, man. You can come out, do a white crew, bro, and all that, pay homage. Hey, on that, bro, I'm imagining that it will be in a ring, right? Because they're not really going to have a cage in Lumpinee, I imagine.
No, that's correct. So it's in a ring, which, look, for me, it changes certain things, but it doesn't affect anything. I've competed in MMA in a ring 4 times. There's pros and cons, like anything. It's just a different environment, so you just need to be aware of it. My facility has a ring, so I've been working in that. It can actually help at times, so it doesn't bother me. Ring, cage, car park, doesn't matter.
All right. I thought it would have been a bit disadvantageous because you've got that pressure that you can use against the cage, right, compared to the rings, like too pliable, and that's not the same pressure, right, unless you get in the corner.
Yeah, definitely. And like I said, unless you get in the corner, then you've actually got a little bit more pressure because there's the 2 ropes on that, so you sort of back them in. So, like I said, if you're against the wall, it's a little bit more disadvantageous. But in the corner, it's probably more advantageous. So all you got to do is my thing for this camp is just nothing's going to faze me. So I just whatever has to be done has to be done. So we're at the stage now where we're at peak professionalism, so it doesn't really matter, man. Like if they need me in a ring, then I'll do it in a ring. It'll be funny taking 2 grapplers in a ring, but it might mean fireworks anyway.
Bro, what do you think of Ben Tynan from Canada? He looks a bit like a guy you might want to punch in the face.
No, I like him, man. I reckon I like this kind of. I like the showmanship. Man, he seems like a cool dude. Hey, if I probably wasn't fighting him, I'd like him. But because I am fighting him, unfortunately, I've got to. My goal is to take his head off. So, and I've seen that his goal is the similar goal. So, we'll get in there, get it done, and then if I can get the W, that's a nice, good name and a good scalp for my record.
Yeah, man, undefeated fighter. Your last fight, bro, June 2022 against Mirzamukhamedov or something like this.
Your guess is as good
Pretty
as mine.
interesting fight, man. How do you feel about that one?
I thought I won that one, bro. I took that on a week's notice. They messaged me, initially asked if I'd fight Buchecha. I said yes in like 10 seconds. They changed. I got offered that fight instead. I dominated for 2.5 rounds. He got a couple of knees off, which obviously hadn't something that I hadn't trained for. Those knees did nothing, but that cost me a split decision loss. Pretty filthy because that's money in my pocket that I would have liked, but it's also progression in my pocket that I would have liked because I've been stuck on the shelf now for over a year, and I'm sure the loss is due to that. So I think I did enough. I have not just one full camp behind me. I've been slogging it out since late December. So I feel like it's going to be a completely different version of myself in there. So I can take some things out of that. The cool thing is that sort of I now know what to expect with the processes of systems of one. So now it won't be all new. I'll be able to draw on my experiences there, and then it'll mean a cooler, calmer, sort of more relaxed version of myself when I get into the ring.
Yeah, man, correct me if I'm wrong. Is it the way that they score in one compared to something like UFC? If he won that fight, they can't be scoring it by round. They must be scoring the fight as a whole and just looking at damage at the end or something, right? Is that how they score?
That's correct. So I was told this. Like, I mean, I'm not going to say that I wasn't told, but I was told that even if you're winning for the 3 rounds, it's scored as a fight as a whole. And one thing that comes into it's not just damage. One thing that comes into account is who was looking better at the end of the fight. So obviously that's what's cost me there with two of the 3 judges. But again, I didn't feel like I was in any kind of danger at all. It was just inexperience on my part, just hanging out there in a position that was probably safer under a different rule set. And the first knee that came, I sort of thought, oh, gee, he can't do that. And I was sort of like, and then another one, and I thought, oh, shit, you should have listened in the rule, mate, and get up. So, look, it's easy to laugh about it now, but I won't be making that error again.
Bro, a couple of funny highlights for me, and he's trying to bust the Gogo Pilata on you a couple of times in I think it was the second round. Kind of interesting.
God bless him, mate. Look, he had a very interesting ground game where it wasn't dangerous, but it was very hard to pass and very hard to get strikes off. So obviously his strategy was slow everything down and make me look like crap on top. And I think he sort of succeeded in that regard. Like he was tying my hands up and he was really just locking his guard up and just making sure everything was slow and sloppy. And that made me look like I was just sitting there and unable to pass. In previous fights and in grappling, I sort of just able to pass. So to give him credit, he had a nice tricky little ground game that sort of slowed things down, and he actually got a stand up in the third from it. So that's something that like sort of a bit of a savvier fighter can do. So I've also made the adjustments there so that doesn't happen again.
Man, I really like that sweep early in the third too. Just looks so beautiful, like technical, beautiful sweep when you just turn position. That was beautiful in the beginning of that round.
The fat man sweep, yeah. That's the name of it in our gym, yeah. Thank you.
Yeah. And bro, like you just mentioned about the striking, shutting down your striking, that fight looked like a judo/BJJ guy fighting MMA. Are we going to see more striking in your next fight?
I think so, yeah. Yeah, I think so, bro. I think so. I've definitely been working very hard on that, and I don't want it to look like that. So, if old mate comes at me, he's going to get someone coming straight back at him. So, I think when you get 2 grapplers, it can either be a bit of a scrappy affair or it can be an absolute war on the feet. So, I'm ready for either.
Would you say, like from me looking at it, I'd say you are the superior grappler. Would that be correct in saying that, do you think? Or what do you think?
Yeah, you're asking the wrong bloke. I'll say yes every day of the week. Look, I know he's got his NCAA background, but I feel like my grappling's more diverse and more experienced. I've been doing this a long time. Not to take anything away from my opponent because he's pretty flash. So I've just got to make sure that everything that I stop all of his attacks and not let him hang on to a leg and get those low doubles and singles that I know that he will try. Even if he says he's going to come in and strike, if things go the way I think they're going to go, he'll be shooting for a low double or single pretty soon.
Yeah, bro. Hey man, so just a quick one on what are your short-term and long-term kind of plans and dreams, man?
Short-term plans, win a fight overseas. So hopefully I can knock that off in the next week. Long-term plans is I just want to keep this pushing as long as I can. Now, I'm 34. I feel like I'm in my physical prime. I definitely feel like I'm on the upwards trajectory, not the downwards trajectory. So whilst I'm still on the upwards trajectory, I'm just going to take as many opportunities as I can and just keep moving forward. So if that means more grappling, more MMA fights, hey, just bring it on because now I've got the facility to set it up that I've got the ability to train as much as I need to train. And I'm building up the combat sports in Canberra where I may not even need to do as many camps interstate. So I just want to be able to take every single opportunity I can and see where this goes. I've been at it too long to stop now.
Nice, man. Good to hear. Looking forward to seeing you get the win on April the 5th, one fight night in Lumpinee, bro. It's a big one. I'm going to be watching for sure.
Thank you, bro. Thanks for the opportunity.
Yeah, thanks for the chat, bro. And let's keep in touch. I'll have a chat with you after you win.
Sounds good, bro. Talk then.